Something I've thought about for a long time, but only recently have chosen to name, is something that I refer to as the broccoli dilemma. And the broccoli dilemma is something that seems to affect every facet of human interaction, human discourse, and human society. Now, I should explain what that means. Let's say you have this vegetable, this cruciferous vegetable, broccoli. Broccoli has a lot of positive properties to it as a vegetable, which is to say it is very high in vitamin C, has a decent amount of calcium in it, etc. But not everyone enjoys broccoli. Now, broccoli, if properly prepared, and by properly I mean there's a lot of variation there, it can actually taste fairly okay, if not quite good. You can saute it, you can fry it, you can steam it, you can apply spices to it, you can drench it in sauce, you can put it in a salad with the right, say, vinaigrette, and it may or may not begin to taste good to you. It may be tolerable. Some of you might actually like broccoli. I know people who can eat broccoli raw with no problems. I can kind of force myself to do that, but it's not my preference. I prefer to fry it or saute it if need be. But I like broccoli on some level. Mind you, this was an acquired taste over time. However, there are people out there who, no matter how well you prepare the broccoli, how differentiated the taste is, how tasty it becomes to most palates, simply do not like broccoli, and will, as a matter of principle almost, not eat broccoli. But I would rather say as a matter of palate principle. What do you do with these people? Well, at that juncture, you say, I like broccoli, or I can tolerate broccoli, and you don't, and you part ways, with each of you effectively forced to respect the other person's preference for broccoli or lack thereof. I call this the broccoli dilemma, because the broccoli dilemma affects every facet of reality, human reality as we know it. We see this repeatedly on the internet, and I've seen this so many times, especially in recent times, where I've borne witness to great debates. And some people are arguing in poor faith, others not, and sometimes both are using evidence and data and information reasons to the best of their ability, but people then come to an impasse, and then they cannot move any further. I actually witnessed this morning in a discussion between the wandering Wojak and one General Chief, whereby General Chief's worldview is completely dictated by the notion of reproductive success as an almost ethical framework as to how to navigate the world. At some point in time, the two had to part ways because, frankly speaking, they didn't agree on this framework. And I've seen this again and again and again. So if we're faced with this broccoli dilemma, the question is, where do we go with it? And I don't think there's a simple answer to this, for obvious reasons. Life is not as simple, and society is not as simple as eating broccoli or not eating it. And whilst there are different ways you can prepare broccoli, just as you can prepare different facets of society and government in a certain way, it's not nearly as easy. Most importantly, I think the take-home conclusion of this is not one that will necessarily resonate with everybody. But I think in this situation, we are almost forced to concede that some type of voluntarism and respectful voluntary self-imposed segregation might even be necessary. Because if two people cannot come to a consensus on what they enjoy eating, and let's project that onto society at large, so you have a libertarian, diehard libertarian, or hardcore liberal, somebody who believes the JQ is the ultimate truth to all human existence, other people who don't believe in it at all, and then middle shades of gray in between who believe that there are subtleties and there's nuance there. Other people that think solving the issue involving women and men is the primary task that we should set before ourselves. Other people think it's of middling importance and never address it. I would be speaking of Ryan Falk in this case. So everyone has different priorities, and everyone has deficits and deficiencies as much as we're not capable of observing every piece of data and all phenomena in the world. However, at some point in time, if people are ideologically opposed to each other, there's not much choice to just say, we agree to disagree, and you can have your preference. And this is ultimately what it comes down to. In everything in life, this matter of preference. You can have a great conversation with someone up to a point, but if you don't agree on something fundamental, you're not going to move any further. And depending on the degree and amount of disagreement, then you may or may not want to associate with a person at all. This applies on the internet, but it also applies in real life. So the question going forward, I think, is something that we should all ask ourselves. Is this one unilateral, singular vision that is proposed for all of society the view that we must adopt when there are so many different views, and not every view is in congruence with other views, and people just vary because people are different, and people have different tastes, and many people are amenable to data and evidence and other people aren't. People would, I suppose, view this as a sort of breakdown of society en masse, but do we really have any choice at the end of the day but to respect each other's preferences and move on our merry way, each resolving to follow the path we have chosen for ourselves and the path that we deem to be true for ourselves, not necessarily for other people? I may well have my vision for myself and humanity, but I, Stardust the Thinking-Ape, know that the amount of people who actually subscribe to this view in any proportion whatsoever, in any numbers whatsoever, this number of people is vanishingly small, unless I'm left to my own devices, or I'm left to accept some other view that is vaguely overlapping with my view, but that's another story. This would apply to political ideologies such as quote-unquote ethno-states, other types of ideologies such as civic nationalism, and even scientific views of the world. These can be applied to the greater society at large, and then we are beset by this fundamental question of whither go we? The current system is not working. The internet has, despite all the information flow, despite all the discussion and debate, provided very little in the way of concrete solutions. And people who are die-hard, dyed-in-the-wool X, who cannot attribute any truth or veracity to Y, or Z for that matter, or any of the preceding letters, well, maybe it's best just to leave them be and let them dwell in X. And maybe the Ys can dwell in Y and the Zs in Zs. And maybe those people who think that truth is neither X, Y, nor Z, but is a confluence and a combination of all the letters of the alphabet, maybe there could be a place for those people too. But at the moment, and for decades now, we've had a one vision for all mode of thinking, modus operandi, and I think this does a huge disservice to most people. And maybe, just maybe, being flexible, being respectful, even if you don't disagree with someone, saying, you go your own way and I'll go my own way, allowing the person to either savor the broccoli, tolerate it, or completely reject it, maybe that is in fact the only way forward. Increasingly, that is my conclusion. In lieu of monolateral mono-solutions, silver bullets as it were, to each and every problem, I want the silver bullet guys, whoever they might be, to have their own world and their own corner of the world, and the rest of us can have ours. And like I said, I don't see any other option at this stage. It's been ever thus. I'm not unwilling to concede that, but maybe we're at a point in time in history where we can actually shift gears to acknowledge the fact that preferences sometimes just can't be changed, and we have to agree to disagree and move on our respective ways, as opposed to trying to impose our ways on other people, and just get on with our lives, whether it's the macro level or the micro level. Anyway, I think this is an important message to get out. It's something I've been thinking about quite a bit, And I really honestly think there are no other options left, no other reasonable options, I should say. Everyone take care. There's more to come, hopefully if I'm still alive, and bye-bye. If you liked this video, please like, share, and subscribe. And if you enjoy my content, please consider making a donation or becoming a patron. Thanks for watching.